والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. Resuming inshallah, continuing in the study and the Tafseer of Surah Amma from the Juz of Amma. The last thing that we were discussing, studying, قوله تعالى جزاء وفاقا, a fitted reward, an appropriate recompense. And we truly took the whole class last time about, understanding the meaning of this befitting reward, appropriate recompense, and this is also for the believers. Therefore, the most important thing that one he will know be certain in their heart that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never transgress anybody. And whatever a person who's going to see or find in their record is them who had, established this record. They wrote this record. They subhanAllah act upon to produce this, upon all their, belief or whims or opinion, but to produce this record. Therefore, someone will be rewarded. He's gonna have his recompense based on the deeds they have done. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال إنهم كانوا لا يرجون حسابا. This is where we start. So كانوا لا يرجون حسابا, indeed they were not expecting an account. And when you look at this ayah, as a sentence, كانوا لا يرجون حسابا, which is goes continuing with إن جهنم كانت مرصادا. They used to not, expect any account. And al-raja'u, it has always a positive connotation. We say raja, hope. So they were not hoping or expecting that such a thing will happen. So here, as they say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala akhbara an jaza' al-tagheen wa adhabihim. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the reward and the recompense of the wrongdoers and their punishment, the believers, they embraced that, or they, subhanAllah, heard it with masarra, with the joy. And when we say with the joy, why? Because it means that those who did good, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will going to reward them with the good. As jaza'an wifaqa, everyone is going to have their reward. So if this painful punishment is going to be cast and subhanAllah striking the people who are wrongdoers, so what about us, the believer, when they read this ayah? When they read. So here, the fact also, وَلَا يَرْجُونَ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا لَا يَرْجُونَ حِسَابًا, denies any hope that had of facing retribution. Now, the كانوا وهو فعل ناقص, كانوا, they used to not expect any account. Here, it's not this ayah that has been revealed into the Day of Judgment. So this is not is going to be told them. So this is the disbeliever. This ayah was conveyed to them. So the fact to say إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا لَا يَرْجُونَ حِسَابًا, they used to not expect any account, which is something becomes like in their nature to belie it, to reject it, to don't even think about it, and something that always persisting in not believing in it. So it's not like they are in the Day of Judgment and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the angel said, oh, you used to not believe in that or respecting that. No, they were in the dunya. So it happened that the ayah, it was recited and conveyed to them in the dunya. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, these people, these disbeliever, كَانُوا لَا يَرْجُونَ حِسَابًا. So the denies of disbeliever belief, it in its occurrence, but also indirectly contrast. So the believers, how they will live with the believers, hope, hinting at the joy and anticipation the believer they have when they think and they feel what they feel about this day. Okay, so these people, they used to not have any hope to meet this judgment. and the way how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the eloquency of the Quran, say كانوا لا يرجون, which is mean like they were like certain such a thing would never happen. So the raja, the positive thing, I mean, which have a positive connotation. So none of the things that Muhammad is talking about will be happening. So the state of happiness that they think that they have, the state of peace that they think they do control, that's their hope will be like false hopes, extending to the, even after death, because for them there is no life after death. But for the believer, when they hear and they recite such a thing, to see the contrast, then the hope becomes true for the believer. So when you say كانوا لا يرجون, and the believer said, I always hope the pleasure of Allah, I always hope the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is a way of reflection. When the believer is reading this ayah, كانوا لا يرجون حسابا, the believer will say, my raja is the hisab to be light. My raja is my account to be in a way that it will be pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be admitted in the rahmah of Allah. Some of the scholars, interpreters of the Quran, mufassirin, they explain yarjuna with the meaning of fear. كانوا لا يخافون, they used to not fear the account of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the judgment. But here, as the author here, rahimahullah ta'ala, the mufassir that we are reporting from his tafsir, he's saying it was more likely they use it the ma'na, which is the meaning of the yarju, or like, what will be really expressed in true hope or in fear, but in fear. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as you said, again, mentioning yarjuna, for this, let's say, see the contrast with the believers, and for them, how this persistence on the denial of the account or the judgment, something that becomes part like of themselves, it becomes almost innate in them. And kanu, something that is being with them all the time, and using yarjuna in the mudara, mudara, which is mean like, kind of the present and the future, which is mean persisting on such denial all their life, persisting on such denial all their life. So kanu is not to suggest that they used to be this way and then ceased, kanu, because in the past, as the verse described their state at the time of the revelation, why they were still in this world, not something that will be said to or about them on the Day of Judgment. كانوا لا يرجون حسابا. Also, yarjuna, again, as I said, it is in the present tense or mudara, to indicate the ongoing nature of their lack of hope, which is mean like they do not have any hope or expectation to find this adab or to find this judgment. So in this context signifies denial. So each time they were reminded of the day of the reckoning, they would renew their denial and repeatedly bring up argument to refute its possibility. As they said all the time, we think it's only assumption, conjecture, يظنون إلا ظن, and we are not convinced, etc., etc. Now, كانوا لا يرجون حسابا. So what is al-hisab? Al-hisab is the reckoning, is the judgment, and refers to counting. The count, we say make hisab hasaba, to count money, hisab. Here, subhanAllah, is used in a metaphorical way. It's like you make the hisab, you counting the deeds and determining their recompense based on the deeds that they had done. So in other words, they do not expect any reckoning, anyone who's going to be counting their deeds on the Day of Judgment. So imagine someone, he goes and, go to work, go to study, they do whatever they want. Who do you think, nothing for them will cross their mind that someone who's like taking, account of everything they're doing. Subhanallah. And this is very important for us to see the big difference between a believer and non-believer. So the question, for example, if you take an atheist, the problem, when you think you're like an atheist who does not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you argue with such a person, it's like about the belief in Allah, about the existence in Allah. But the thing is deeper and more profound and, wider and vaster in all the perspective. Someone, for example, in this case, لا يرجو حسابا. The atheists لا يرجون حسابا. Exactly. is insisting, persisting, and repeatedly, they deny, they mock all the time. And not only the atheists, the agnostics, and all those people who, live around us in this society. Look their perspective. They don't even cross their mind. It's out of their mindfulness to think that there's angels taking notes, that there's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yuhsi kulla shay wa kulla shayin ahsaynahu adada. Everything they did. So look, subhanallah, that full complete blindness and mindfulness. When they'll die, how they gonna feel? What failure, what loss a person will be, subhanallah, facing at the moment of death. When they realize, look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described it in Surah Al-Kahf, what He said, قالوا ما لهذا الكتاب لا يغادر صغيرة ولا كبيرة إلا أحصاها. What happened to this book, to this record? Nothing big or small, but it is counted here. Can you imagine from the state that no one is looking at you, no one is overseeing you, no one, subhanallah, is aware of you, and then you find out that everything was counted. Everything was counted. That's why the believer, the Prophet ﷺ, obligate us, recommended us, commended us to live in a state of muraqabah. State of muraqabah. I mean, feel like you are watched. Watch not being restricted, watch to be cared of. Watch to be showered with the mercy of Allah. Watch, against your own ill self who's dragging you to do bad things. طيب, this is الحساب. قال طيب, and they denied it, joined قال وكذبوا, say they do not accept يرجون. طيب, see, they deny is firmly entrenched in their heart without any doubt. It is expressed with the past tense verb to indicate that their denial is long-standing and settled. And they said, our heart are in covering from what you call us to. And in our ears is deafness, and between us and you is a veil. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Fussilat. So the use of denial, قال كذاب, this is the كذاب, intensifies the meaning, indicating the extreme rejection of signs. قال إنهم كانوا لا يرجون حسابا إنهم كانوا وكذبوا بآياتنا كذابا. Subhanallah, and totally rejected our signs. And the كذابة comes as affirmation, as a confirmation, قال لإفادة شدة تكذيبهم بالآيات, to show, how extreme, how intensified this meaning, indicating their extreme rejection. Extreme rejection. Here, subhanallah, comes i'tirad. Al-i'tirad is interjected statement. وَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ حِسَابًا. Because, look the ayat, how beautiful they go. قال إنهم كانوا لا يرجون حسابا. For they never expected any reckoning. And they were very arrogant. You see them talk on podium, advocating for their case, doing da'wah for it, making advertisement, commercial, calling people, ridiculing whoever who believes. and totally rejected our sign and denied our verses with emphatic denial. كذبوا بآياتنا كذابا. An interjecting statement here قال وكل شيء أحصيناه كتابا. While they are immersed in their denial, while they are in euphoria of their doing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has everything recorded precisely. Even the mocking that you have to the believer, even the wink that you do with your eyes, even that, when you hit with someone with the elbow, look at these people, everything is precise. قال وإذا رأوا يتغامزون is in the record. وكل شيء أحصيناه كتابا. وكل شيء أحصيناه كتابا. So al-ihsa, what it means ihsa, is enumeration, means counting things precisely to determine their number. And here it is used as a metaphor because when you count it like coins, 1, 2, 3, so use it as a metaphor to show how thorough is this enumeration. وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ كِتَابًا, for exact preservation in the book. For the term kitaba, which in writing, so in grammatical object meaning enumerated in writing. كُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ كِتَابًا, we have made it to be enumerated in writing, as is a metaphorical for meticulous recording, as a written record are safeguarded against forgetting or neglect or being lost. Everything, subhanallah, قال ووجدوا ما عمل حاضرا, you're gonna find it standing, everything ready. Now what is gonna be there? The record and the witnesses. And above all, Allah is witness of everything. But look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the all just, He'll bring you witnesses, everything you ask for. There is a witness. There is a witness to read the book. A witness, all the skins will, subhanallah, will witness against the person. The body part, the limbs will whisper. The eyes will witness. The ears will witness. And the earth will witness, and the space-time will witness. What it means is like the physical, like the time. Now we cannot regress time or go forward in time maybe, but in different time states there is different time, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, a day for you is like, for Allah is like 1,000 days of what you count. However, you cannot stop time. So, in the day of judgment, as in the life of the grave, the segment of the time in which the person did the sin, it will be presented to them, not like a video play and stop. Presented exactly that portion of space-time. Someone was in a room, closed, doing something, without, caring about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a person committing crime. That scene exactly, when he did it, comes exactly itself. So he will see themselves doing the action when they were at that time in the dunya. We cannot go back in time now. We have the ability to record it. But in the day of judgment, will bring you the scene exactly. You'll see a person, they see themselves. يَوْمَ يَصْدُرُ النَّاسُ أَشْتَاتًا لِي يراه, to see it. For this is the kitab that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, enumerating everything in it, is beyond what we can think. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in His book things that we can grasp and comprehend with our sensory senses. But things like, when it comes to the unseen, is beyond our imagination, Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال فذوقوا فلن نزيدكم إلا عذابا. This ayah, so taste the punishment, for we will not increase you except in torment. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. This is عن عبد الله بن عمر ابن العاص وأبي برزة الأسلمي and Abu Huraira قال this verse is considered the harshest revelation regarding the inhabitant of the hellfire, the worst. It has been attributed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, in the hadith. Abu Barza al-Asma, he said, I asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the harshest verse in the book of Allah concerning the people of hell. And he said, فَذُوقُوا فَلَن نَزِيدَكُمْ إِلَّا عَذَابًا. Now, when you try to read this ayah, their torment will increase forever. And فَذُوقُوا is like taste. Then look when they say the taste, and then taste is like, someone give you something to taste, right? And if you don't like it, you said, okay, thank you, I don't want it. So the verb dhuqu, taste, it has, subhanAllah, kind of give them some hope that this is going to end. You see, he said, taste this. Say, okay, taste. He said, I don't want it. Someone has been tasting the torment. He said, now is enough. He said, فَذُوقُوا. There is some hope in the heart that is going to come to end, but it comes after it, فَلَن نَزِيدَكُمْ إِلَّا عَذَابًا. Only we're going to increase you in punishment. You taste one torment, when it stops, it's going to come something worse. And that worse, it awaits after that something worse, something else. That's why, subhanAllah, وَقَالَ وَهُمْ يَسْتَرِخُونَ فِيهَا. Istirah, screaming beyond what we can think. I mean, the weight of the verb يَسْتَرِخُونَ is so heavy that subhanAllah, someone would not imagine, except someone is in a dire situation, in a very big trouble, in a situation he only seeing death, he will be screaming such a way, yastarikh. But for the people of the hellfire, don't stop istirah, wal-iyadhu billah. So it gives the impression that they have reached the peak of suffering, only for them to be informed that more severe punishment awaits, leading to sorrow upon sorrow, wal-iyadhu billah. An intensification of despair. This structure signifies severe anger. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Now, this is Quran. What does it mean? Words of Allah. What does it mean? The ultimate truth. What does it mean? What we're reading is happening with no doubt. With no doubt. For this reason, as a believer, this need to really shake our hearts. Because if someone will fail, he's going to be facing this. And they only, jaza'an wifaqa, they only will be blaming themselves. One of the beautiful explanation of one of the mufassirin, in قوله تعالى وله الحمد في الآخرة, and he had the absolute hamd in the hereafter. He said even the people in hellfire will be making hamd to Allah for His justice. Because no one will say, oh, I've been tricked, oh, Allah didn't guide me. None of that thing. That will be in the land of resurrection, swearing and crying and begging and trying to find a way. Life is not going to work. Then when they're going to get to hellfire, they know it's their own deed. They're going to turn to the shaitan. They said, hey, hold on. Do not blame me, blame yourself, in Surah Ibrahim. I didn't have any power of you. I didn't force anyone except I invited you and you accepted the invitation. People, they tell you invitation, say RSVP, right? All of them, they hit, they reserved to go with the shaitan. That's all what he did. Three minutes. Inna lil-muttaqina mafaza. Now, subhanallah, look the contrast. إن جهنم كانت طاغية مرصادا. Here we have مفازة. طيب. قال the transition aligns with the Quranic style of following a warning with the glad tidings. Someone is being warned and then comes the message of the good news to give you the balance. The first one almost melting your heart. The second one is going to bring your heart, that air, that expansion, that good feeling. So, inna lil muttaqina mafaz. And look, imagine how the companion, they read this ayah, or this ayat. This is how we need to read this ayat. It's like you hear it for the first time. So when you say, after going through the punishment, after going with the harshest ayah in the Quran, فَذُوقُوا فَلَن نَزِيدَكُمْ إِلَّا عَذَابًا, here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِنَّ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ مَفَازًا. And إِنَّ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ مَفَازًا, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here said, قال, indeed the righteous will have mafaza. Mafaza is the place of attainment, is the place of victory, is the place of triumph. So it's like someone who's been striving and struggling, and here he came to win the place where they're going to be saved. The place of attainment, the place of subhanallah, of felicity, the place of the great success. Inna lil muttaqina. So the word mafaza, it encompasses all the type of, the meaning of bliss, of felicity, of success, of prosperity, of victory, of triumph, all of that. And mafaza is like someone almost drowning and came out and he feel like he get, subhanallah, saved. And this is for whom? For whom? It's for al-muttaqeen. Therefore, the objective for whomever reading this ayah, he said, Ya Allah, make me from the muttaqeen. So the key for your mafaza is to be from the muttaqeen. The key for the mafaza is to be from the muttaqeen. Who are the muttaqun? Al-muttaqun are the righteous, referring to who? To the believer who accepted the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, followed his command and avoided his prohibition. Very simple. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if you truly love Allah, follow me. Follows Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah will love you. And what it means, Allah will love you, will grant you this mafaza. Allah will grant you this mafaza. So the key to mafaza is only one thing. You don't need to have money. You don't need to have special status. You don't need to live 1,000 years. You don't need of anything that is not in your control in this dunya. The only thing that Allah gave you control over is your heart. Make your heart to be among the muttaqeen. That's when you're going to get this mafaza. And the mafaza, and I'll finish with this. The mafaza is something that you think of it, not all the good things that you're going to have. No, don't think this way. The mafaza, think of all the bad things that you have avoided. Because when someone, everybody does not, they didn't make it to the line. And he will find the food, he said, hey, now we're going to enjoy it. He said to be humble, to be grateful. Think of those who didn't make it. They could not even have this food. Some of them, maybe they, subhanAllah, happened to them what happened. Some of them, they might be died. Some of them, they might be killed. And you, with the struggle and things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you came to this line. So think what you have avoided. For this reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in His book, قال فمن زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة فقد فاز. Whoever who's been removed from hellfire, that's the most important thing. The most important thing is not to enter paradise. Entering paradise, it will be granted, automatic, if you avoid hellfire. So the big work is to avoid hellfire. You don't find any of the believer in the Quran who say, oh Allah, grant me paradise. He said, oh Allah, shield me from the torment of the hellfire. Al-Muttaqun, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that He promised them the Jannat and everything, and قَالَ وَأَزْوَاجٌ مُطَهَّرَةٌ وَرِضْوَانٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ, and pleasure from Allah. Who are they? قَالَ الَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا آمَنَّا. Oh Allah, we believe. Forgive our sins and shield us from the torment of the hellfire. But don't think about the bliss of paradise yet. Think about how to avoid hellfire that eat the true مفازة. فنسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يرزقنا مفازة ويجعلنا من عباده المتقين. جزاكم الله خيرا وبارك الله فيكم. If you have any question, inshallah, you are welcome.